Hi, I'm Deepika Yadav, and on behalf of my co authors, I'm presenting a paper titled as Bodywork at Work Attending to Bodily Needs in Gig Shift and Knowledge Work. So, what's the first thought that comes to your mind when you look at this picture? This is the picture that I got when I googled the word work, and to me, it sounds like a typical masculine body always ready for work. Unfortunately, this norm of disembodied worker is prevalent in most of the work settings in contemporary world. So, in this paper, we employ the concept of body work. Within the sociology of the body, this concept has been developed in an effort to bring the body back into the work environment in response to how bodies had been long overlooked in the sociology literature. So, McMillan presents four forms of body work while discussing how it has been developed. And these four forms are: the first one is appearance work, which is the work performed on one's own body to manage a person's physical looks, such as grooming or clothing selection. The second is paid labor carried out on the bodies of others. So, for example, body labor in care or beauty service industries can be considered in this category. Third is emotion management, where one has to take active control of the display of emotions that are deemed socially appropriate. And this is so common in customer facing jobs. And fourth is body making through work, which is the production of physical bodies through a person's work, such as implications of standing for long hours. And so we position body work as taking care of bodily needs and situate this definition in workplaces, work practices, and practices related to work. This paper looks at three pre-existing cases that we consider here together to understand body work across three different types of work. Our cases include gig-based food delivery work, where labor markets are characterized by independent contracting that happens through digital platforms. The work is contingent, casual, and non-permanent with little job security, involving payment on a piecework basis. Second type of work is shift work in hospitals and bars. So shift work is generally on rise, and it entails challenges such as potential health impacts, disrupted sleep routines, and strains on work-life balance. And finally, the third type of work is knowledge work, which doesn't primarily involve physical labor as such, but can entail complex and multifaceted problems in attending to the body. And we look at this through the intimate care practice of breast pumping in the workplace. So each of these three cases were analyzed for this paper through the lens of body work in an iterative process, whereby points of commonalities and distinction between the cases were subject to multiple rounds of analysis. So gig work data is based on an ethnographic study performed during the COVID-19 pandemic in Pune, India. It included data from a video recorded session with the workers, semi-structured interviews, and field visits. Total 26 participants involved in sharing their experiences. So second is the shift work, which mainly focused on experiences of sleep tracking in the context of Sweden and India, comprising data from the analysis of Reddit posts related to sleep in shift work, and also semi-structured interviews and focus group. And the third knowledge work dataset consists of interviews with 19 individuals distributed across different settings of the knowledge work in 11 countries across Europe, Southeast Asia, South Africa, and North America. So here we are not looking to offer empirically generalizable findings, but rather aim is to highlight the presence of body work in very different types of work settings for very different types of groups of people. So we found four themes on the relationship between body work and the labor the participants were paid for. So in this presentation, I'm going to discuss just two. So the first is balancing body and work. So work is often arranged around common times for common actions. The traditional 9 to 5 window of modern working environments, including breaks, allows times when a normative employee is working and times outside where they can eat, sleep, attend to bodily needs, and socialize. However, when either the work or the body is unable to conform, the visibility, timing, and amount of body work changes. In our three cases, we observed a significant amount of body work taking place outside of scheduled work hours. This was related to planning, disciplining, and managing the body in specific ways to meet work goals. So, in gig work, the meal routines were severely affected in this balancing of body and work. Working for a food delivery platform, however, means that in order to deliver customers' food at times conducive to their schedules, one cannot eat at the same time. We observed that drivers' meal routines were affected by their efforts to maximize their earnings. Workers must remain available for order allocation, especially during the high order flow hours when customers order their lunch and dinner. So, in remaining available to work longer, workers held expectation that the order allocation algorithm, which is black box to them, would somehow is more likely to assign better orders to them. Shift work, by definition, pushes the timing of some or all of the employees' work outside of a normative 9 to 5 schedule. This in turn shifts the time of non-work activities, too many of which pertain to body work. So, finding a resilient sleep schedule that accommodates work and other life obligations is often an unattainable goal for shift workers. Participants share that their choices primarily revolve around structuring sleep in the days surrounding the shift. Carving out sufficient hours of sleep to prepare for the next shift requires meticulous planning to mitigate disruptions from typical daytime elements like sunlight, roommates, partners, and ambient noise. And finally, in knowledge work settings, even when employment follows mainstream social norms, sometimes it cannot accommodate the bodily needs. So here the need arises to either change the work or change the body. And the pressures to be seen as a good worker encourage workers to change the body more than the work. So here in this case of breast pumping in the workplace, we saw breastfeeding mothers were forced to either carve out time from the workday to pump their milk, attempt to train their bodies to be able to pump effectively when it's convenient for their schedule, or attempt to work and pump milk at the same time. So I would like to read this quote, which is from a participant who is an occupational therapist in the US. She shared that I knew that I would have to prepare myself. So when I first started pumping, it's every 3 hours. I realized that's just not going to be realistic for me. So I had to plan when to pump, and I trained my body. I pump at 6 a.m. and then I don't pump again until noon. For most people, they maybe would lose supply because of that large gap. So infrequent pumping reduces milk supply and impacts how long one can feed breast milk to the child. And in our data set, we observe participants sharing that many of them had to wean their pumping sooner than they originally planned. So overall, we observe participants investing in significant planning and training their bodies to make it available for work and be resilient for work while attending to the body work. So the second theme is about optimizing body work. So using digital tools to optimize work efficiency is a common phenomenon. Here we found a hidden but distinctive aspect of how body work connects with the goal of increasing efficiency. So participants described a range of tactics where they employ technology to plan and perform body work, as well as to minimize the time and amount of body work. In gig work, with a lack of control over the work allocation and how work is evaluated, workers strategize their movement to increase the chances of getting an order and to maximize their earning. This included leveraging their prior knowledge of the surroundings to take shortcuts and move between different hotspots to attract orders. Throughout the delivery workflow, we observe that workers aim to complete the delivery as swiftly as possible so as to make themselves available for the next order. Here, the bodywork entailed riding extra miles to maximize earnings despite the back pain, long hours on the motorbike. In shift work, optimizing with the body meant working on improving the efficiency and success of adapting sleep routines between changing work schedules. The users employed many different approaches based on recommendations received from their colleagues or advice posted online. One of the main struggles here is to get insight into how much sleep and at what quality one gets. Yet still, using dedicated sleep tracking device was not a general practice among participants, and it was mainly reserved for those who were actively trying to optimize their sleep quality. So in the discussion forum, we found that participants shared their concerns about how modern day sleep tracking devices are not designed for naps and people who sleep in segmented ways. And one common challenge highlighted by was getting the output of one's tracker in the correct format, where they shared advice on which brands of trackers can be hacked to give access to the raw data. Optimizing pumping and knowledge work involves minimizing logistics and time. So participants chose different kinds of pumps based on their pumping preference and work situations and in the space where they pumped. So here we have a figure that shows sketches of 3 portable pumps with variation in their models. On the left, this model is called as hands-free, which is actually made hands-free with the use of special gears, lanyard, and special supporting bra. The second one is called as semi-variable, where the pump is worn inside the clothes, but the machine is held on the hand. And the third one is called as a variable breast pump. So all participants preferred these portable pumps at the workplace, with 3 using the variable form of the portable pump. And just to give an example how they optimize their work and pumping, there was a participant P3 who is a researcher in Switzerland. To improve her work efficiency, she used 2 kinds of pump at the same time at her workplace. She opted for an electric portable pump, the one on the left, for her first break, usually taken in a meeting room, and a variable pump for her second break at her desk or during the tram ride back home. So despite the electric pump being more efficient in milk extraction, she found it time consuming to move to a separate location for pumping for her second break. Her preference to pump at her desk was influenced by her concerns about how her work was evaluated, shaping her experience of intimate body work and the adaptations she made. So throughout our findings, we have seen how body work cuts across different work settings and how a range of technologies played varied role in shaping how bodies are attended to and how that intersects with work practice. So we argue that while some systems are explicitly designed with bodies in mind, ultimately all systems are bodily systems. So understanding all systems as bodily systems and all work practices are shaped by ongoing body work, it opens for creative ways to consider bodily needs in workplaces where they are not central. So this approach presents an alternative pathway for the design that doesn't aim for a single and novel technological solution, but rather taps into a relational perspective that acknowledges artifact ecologies and the constellation of heterogeneous technologies that coexist and are interlinked in contemporary work and workers' everyday life. So we see that embracing the collaborative aspects of managing work and the body, especially when there are breakdowns in either, and the extent to which this collaboration spreads within and outside of the working environment, presents opportunities for greater optimization without sacrificing well-being. And for further details, I invite you to read our paper. Thank you so much for listening to this presentation.